Marcus Chen floated through the maintenance corridor of Luna Station Zerion, his magnetic boots clicking against the metal grating with practiced ease. The whispers had started again, faint, ethereal voices speaking in the ancient Zephyrian tongue his grandfather had taught him decades ago. Most humans would have fled screaming by now, but Marcus had learned something his alien grandfather's former colleagues hadn't expected. Humans were remarkably adaptable to the supernatural. "Evening, Great Uncle Vash," Marcus called out, too, the translucent blue figure phasing through the wall. The spectral Zephyrian warrior nodded solemnly, his forearms crossed in the traditional greeting of respect. Vash had been dead for 3 centuries, but his spirit remained tethered to the moon base, along with dozens of other Zephyrian ancestors. When Marcus had inherited the station from his grandfather, Zeklon, half human, half Zephyrian, the Galactic Inheritance Council had barely contained their amusement. A pure-blooded human taking over a facility haunted by the restless spirits of an ancient warrior race? The betting pools across 12 systems gave him a week before he'd abandon the base, screaming about ghosts and supernatural phenomena. That was 52 weeks ago. Marcus paused at the central command hub, watching the holographic displays flicker with incoming transmission requests. 3 different alien corporations wanted to buy the base, offering increasingly ridiculous sums. They claimed it was for the strategic location. Luna Station Zerion sat at a perfect gravitational anchor point between Earth and Mars. But Marcus knew better. They wanted the Zephyrian technology that his grandfather had integrated into every system. Technology that only responded to someone the ancestral spirits trusted. "Sir Marcus," came a melodic voice behind him. He turned to see Lyra Esh, a Zephyrian ghost who had served as his grandfather's chief engineer. Her spectral form shimmered with approval. "The quantum resonance chambers are operating at 97% efficiency. The ancestors are pleased with your maintenance protocols." Marcus grinned. "Thanks, Lyra. Any word from the deep sensors about that Krolex pirate fleet?" The ghost's expression darkened. "They approach the outer perimeter, but they hesitate. Word has spread about the cursed human who communes with the dead." She paused, tilting her head. "They do not understand that you are not cursed. You are blessed." The first few months had been challenging. Marcus had to learn not just the complex alien technology, but how to communicate with beings who existed between dimensions. Humans, he discovered, had a unique neurological quirk that most alien species lacked. They could perceive and interact with quantum-shifted consciousness, what others called ghosts, without losing their sanity. Where other species saw terrifying apparitions or incomprehensible phenomena, humans saw puzzles to solve and relationships to build. A proximity alarm chimed through the station. Marcus pulled up the external cameras and smiled grimly. The Krolex pirates had finally worked up the courage for another attempt. This would be the 4th raid this month. "All spirits to battle. Stations?" Marcus announced through the intercom system he'd modified to broadcast on the spectral frequency. Throughout the base, dozens of ghostly Zephyrian warriors began materializing, their ancient armor gleaming with otherworldly light. The lead Krolex ship hailed the station. Marcus accepted the transmission, watching the reptilian captain's scarred face appear on the main screen. "Human," the Krolex hissed. "We know you are alone on that station. Surrender the Zephyrian technology, and we will grant you a swift death." Marcus leaned back in his chair, noting how the Krolex captain's eyes kept darting to the shadows behind him, where several ghosts were now visible. "Alone?" "Captain Scrash, I think you need better intelligence. Gathering. We have scanned your base thoroughly. There are no life signs except yours." "You're absolutely right," Marcus said cheerfully. "No life signs at all. Lyra, would you mind showing our guests what that means?" The chief engineer's ghost smiled wickedly and interfaced directly with the station's defensive systems. The Zephyrian Technology hummed to life with an eerie, supernatural resonance that made reality itself seem to bend. Phantom energy cannons materialized around the base, operated by the spirits of long-dead weapon masters. The Krolex ship's sensors went haywire as quantum-shifted targeting systems locked onto them. "What sorcery is this?" Captain Scrash shrieked as his ship's systems began shutting down one by one, controlled by invisible hands. "Not sorcery," Marcus replied, watching his ghostly crew work with centuries of experience. "Just good old-fashioned teamwork. See, you aliens all made the same mistake. You assumed that death was the end of usefulness. Humans know better. We've always understood that the dead can be our greatest allies if we treat them with respect." The Krolex fleet retreated in panic, just like all the others. Marcus turned to thank his spectral crew, but Lyra Esh was already fading back to the quantum realm. "Sir Marcus," she said before disappearing, "your grandfather would be proud. You have honored both his human heritage and his Zephyrian ancestry." As the station settled back into its quiet routine, Marcus reflected on the year that had passed. The Galactic Inheritance Council had stopped laughing months ago when trade requests started pouring in from species who wanted safe passage through the lunar corridor. They'd offered him positions with the Galactic Navy, the Merchant Guild, even the Diplomatic Corps. He'd turned them all down. Luna Station Zerion was his home now, staffed by the most loyal and experienced crew in the galaxy. The fact that they happened to be dead was just a minor detail. Humans had always been good at working with what they had, and Marcus had an entire army of grateful ancestors who appreciated being treated like family rather than frightening apparitions. His grandfather's final message, recorded before his death, had said it perfectly. "The living may fear the dead, but humans understand that love transcends death itself. Use that gift well, grandson." Marcus smiled and headed to the observation deck, where his ghostly great-uncle Vash was teaching him advanced Zephyrian combat techniques. After all, he had a haunted moon base to run, and the dead were excellent teachers.